Greetings from the Eccentric Man, and this is a video about my day at a Cams Bridge Too Far 2017, probably the largest bolt action one-day tournament, even perhaps two-day tournament in the world so far. There were 79 players that took part over the day. It was 1,000 points army. It was up to 2 rifle platoons or 2 tank platoons, or yeah, that was about it. And so there was quite a wide variety of armies that were on display and taking part. I had 3 games, and they were good games. Enjoyed all 3 of them, and hopefully my opponents did as well. There'll be a shout out to them as we go through. So what I'll do first off is a quick refresher of the army that I took. You can find a video overview of it on my channel, and also a practice game using it as well. There's a video of a battle report. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. I'll go through and I'll then put up some armies that I saw which I thought were very nicely painted. So let's go through my army list. So here we are. I've got a 2 rifle platoon list, and I've got a 2nd Lieutenant veteran with his mate, and then a 2nd Lieutenant who is inexperienced. I've got a sniper team veteran. I've got 2 war dog teams. I've got 2 Stuart 3s regular. I've got a half-track regular, mortar medium regular, 2 marine units regular, 8 men, so 3 machine guns and a bar, and then I've got 4 inexperienced rifle squads with 6 men in each, which was an army based on the Bastards of Bataan, and that's what I was looking at, early wars Pacific, and I had a couple of practice games with it, and it worked reasonably okay. It's useful for those scenarios which have got objectives, but it has got a bit of weakness with those inexperienced troops. My opponent for the first game was Paul Walker from warhq.co.uk. You can find them online. It's an online store. He's also doing a video channel, and he's putting out a weekly show on bolt action. He had a commando list supporting the 2 anti-aircraft crusaders, a greyhound, and the rest was infantry. A tough little anti-infantry army, the crusaders, and he was going to use those to good effect in the game. That's what he was hoping for, and the commandos to mop up whatever they could do. So that was the army that I was facing. I've done a battle report on our grudge match. It was a grudge match. We've been chatting back and forward on Warhammer. No, on Wahoo Warriors. I always say Warhammer because he used to do Warhammer. So it's Wahoo Warriors online Patreon group, and we've been chatting, and we met up for the first time at the Cams Bridge Too Far, and decided we'd have a grudge match, and we did, and it was great fun. And I think we'll have another go at the roll call British Historical Games Society in April. We'll grudge again in there. So let's move on to the board and the game. The table was predominantly woodland. We put it as it was cover, and then they were impossible to see through. So we set up, the scenario was more or less attrition. Kill as many of your opponents as you could. With that in mind, I did sort of lose sight, as you always do, of scenarios, and I did put my small units in vulnerable places, and that was a problem, because that's probably what cost me the game, and also problems with rolling ones, which was a sad state of affairs. Paul was using his crusaders to put pressure on the infantry and was trying to take them out as wherever he could, and he did do my mortar team straight away first turn by bringing both crusaders out. The first one missed with their 4 shots, but the second one got it with 1, and obviously the little template killed the crew. My Stuarts, if you watch the battle reports, my dice rolling was abysmal, loads of 1s and 2s, which did cause me some grief. I managed to get 3 units destroyed of Paul's, and he did 5 of mine, so he took the minor win. Just tricky game with the dice throws, but I did cause myself enough trouble by sticking the mortar out and losing my dog teams. I put them out too vulnerable. They should have been at the back being protected, but that was my fault. Well played to Paul, who put me under pressure on it, and did take that minor win. We'll meet again, and I'll get revenge. My next game up, game 2, was against Jamie Higgins and his Polish army, and you can see it here. He's got a unit of Polish cavalry. He's got a little light tankette, which has got, I think it's either machine gun or autocannon, and then there's the gun tank. I can't remember what it was. Light anti-tank, I think it was. And then he's got a light howitzer on the other side. 4 10-man infantry units as well. So it was a nice army with lots of troops in it. So never played the Polish before. I know Polish Lancers have quite a few attacks and are get that extra attacking tough fighter. So something I wasn't hoping to meet out in the open. The scenario was point defence, and Jamie decided to take that opposite side of the table where you can see with the tape measure. You can see where he set up first with the 3 objectives. The first objective he's covered with the infantry squad, an officer and an artillery piece. The centre objective, you can just see the troops behind the wall. He put a medium machine gun and a 10-man squad. There's the other objective on the left behind the house, and he put another 10-man squad with that. So he was there for defence. My strategy was to outflank on the right, push up to the centre through the church and the trees in the middle, and try and take the centre objective and this right objective. Refuse flank to the left, and hopefully I would get one contest, at least get a draw, but hopefully get a win by taking that middle one. The game progressed more or less as I thought it would and hoped it would. The Stuarts came up on the right hand flank, and the half track came up, took this objective and secured that. Unfortunately, my troops, the bulk of the troops in the middle were the inexperienced troops, and they did get there, but unfortunately they weren't strong enough to remove what was in the end a tank and two 10-man infantry units that were on the middle objective. I tried really hard to shift him from there, but couldn't do it. However, got a draw from this one, and I killed more units of his than he did of mine. So that was good. That gave me some little victory points within that game. So yeah, it was a hard fought when you're the attacker going against the defender. Always a difficult one. The scenario for the British Historical Game Society will change, where the attacker will note down which objective they're going for and will get a victory if they achieve that one, rather than taking the 2 out of 3. It will be the named one. So that'll be interesting, and that's definitely a change on the scenario and evens it up a little bit for the attacker. Final game of the day was against Mike Collard and his Canadians. He was sporting a priest, a AEC medium anti-tank gun. He had a medium mortar team, and then you can see the 1, 2, 3, 4 squads of British infantry, all regular. So interesting game with the armies that he had there. Certainly its objectives. We were playing key positions, so it's putting down 5 objectives. You do that alternatively, then you roll to see who goes on what side. So you've got to be a bit cagey about where you put your objectives. Always in this game is try to take 3 to get the win, and obviously you're looking at the terrain to see how you're going to do that and what the troops are for the opponent. The objectives went down, and you can see most of them here. You've got, starting from the central house in the middle, I've put my one down there, and then I put another one to the left of the terrain, and that was going to give cover and put down to have somebody within 3 inches. There's another objective just up in the cornfield at the top, and then to the centre by the wood is another objective, and then you've got another objective in front of the wood there. So you can see the 5 objectives. My theory was to keep the one objective behind the house, keep the objective on this bottom corner. Mike decided to stay on the other side, probably thinking of it was a mistake on his behalf. and I was going to take the furthest cornfield or the one in the centre, depending on what I could get. You can see my initial deployment here. I sort of supported the one in the middle with the officer team, a squad of inexperienced infantry, and the mortar down this side. My two Stuarts in the centre, responding to his armoured car, which came in the middle. His priest was coming down on the right hand side, out of view from this house. And I put some infantry squads on the left to go up on the left flank, depending on what he put down. He did leave the left flank very open and concentrated all his effort on the right. So that allowed me to sweep round. He only put one infantry unit on that cornfield one at the top. He tried at the end to get his officer there to protect, but he couldn't get there. I had too many units on that cornfield. A marine squad and an inexperienced squad have got a lot of firepower, and they took out his squad there. The tanks in the middle didn't do vast amounts, but they did stop his AEC coming down and putting pressure. I managed to get a shot on the priest, which put 2 pins on it, and then hit it in another turn, which he ended up not passing his leadership test, so it had 3 pins on, and that failed its leadership and then reversed back. I put the half track on outflank and brought in 2 inexperienced squads in that, and took the objective right at the back. He piecemeal really put forward his commandos on the right, and the firepower of the Americans took them out individually. So it went to a 5-0 victory to me, so a major win, and it gave me a draw, a win, and a major win, a draw, and a minor loss for the day. In the final list of players and results, our team did quite well. Colin, my friend, my normal opponent, came in at 16th. My other friend Rob, who we sometimes play against, I'll try and get a video game up against him. He came in 21st with his Russians. Colin was fielding his Japanese again. And I came in 26th. So we didn't do too bad as a little team. That was quite good. One of the impressive things about the Camsbridge Too Far is the prize support. And I came 26th, and I was able to pick up this box of Italian paratroops as my prize for attending, I suppose. Not for doing anything, but just for being there. And there were prizes all the way through to the 79th person, who also got an extra award for coming last. So a really well supported tournament. I went round during the lunch break to have a look at some of the armies, and they were really good. You can see here a DAC Africa Corps army. So you've got obviously a platoon there, armoured tank platoon. Looks like 3 Panther 3s, a couple of half tracks, and the squads. Looks like an engineer team with a flamethrower. It might not. It could just be a flamethrower on its own, I suppose. But yeah, 2 motorcycles. Yeah, it looks very nice. That you can see the boards. The one on the right was a beach landing with the landing crafts. There were some really good boards. The terrain was not too dense. It gave enough to be able to give a bit of cover, but to allow for killing the opponents. This was a very nicely painted British Army, very nicely painted up. Trucks and tanks. I'm not quite sure what that one's got on it. It looks like it's got a German cross on it for some strange reason, one of the tanks there. But as you can see, it's got his objective markers laid out on a nice little board. Yeah, it's nice standard of painting for some of the armies that were there. Yeah, there are a number of army boards carrying trays made up. I must do that for the next tournament that I go to. It really does add to the army when they're there on display. What have we got here? Yep, looks like we've got a British airborne army. You've got them on their little scooters that you can see there on the right, trucks. Yeah, looks nice. This army was certainly eye-catching, and you can see that he's built up his carrying tray as a street in the desert, and he's got his vehicles on a convoy going through the town. Quite a sort of a lightweight one there. You've got the old grief little 250. I think that's could be a Panzer II there. Not quite sure what that one is in the middle. And then you've got the 231 8 rad little truck there, and the little vehicles. So very nice. A good contender for the best painted army, but I just felt it needed a little bit more work done on the infantry. There wasn't the highlights on the uniform that I would like to have seen, but a tremendous army and tremendously made board. Very nice. This was the one that did actually win Best Painted. I couldn't get a good enough picture of them, but the tanks were very nicely painted and weathered. The infantry were highlighted and shaded and done to a very nice level. And as I say, I can't remember the chap's name who had this, but it was very nicely painted, and the award for Best Painted was well deserved. So congratulations to him. I've put this slide in. The army was nicely painted, but not to the level as the previous army. But the display board that he put made it stand out really nicely, and caught my eye, so I took a picture of it. So obviously it just goes to show that, yep, a reasonably good painted army, a nice base for your movement tray, really enhances the visual effect of it. So definitely for me, it makes me want to think, yeah, I'm going to have to do an army base, and for other people, think about it and do it. Make yourself up that carrying board, which is a bit of a diorama. This army, I can remember the guy's name, and this is Dan Van Hees from Chicago. He travelled from Chicago to play the game, and he was on the team of Sam from Down Order Podcast and Mad Bob Emerson. They set up a team of 3, and this was Dan's army. Obviously, Fall of Berlin with his Panzer V, the Panther, and he had the Volks. Can't pronounce the name, but he had the Hitler Youth, and he had the is it the Volksstrom, the civilians pressed into it. What would have been our sort of home guard? Well, not even that, but there it is. A nice board, nicely painted figures, well presented, and he did quite well with the day. A very well run day by 2D6, the club hosting, and all the people present. So well done, and thank you very much for running it. Last year's one was good, and this year's was just as good. So excellent way forward. So I would say, if you are in the UK or not in the UK and you fancy a good day out, and you feel up to it next year, I'm sure they will run it again this time next year. It's well worth coming along to. A good day, and hopefully I could meet some people there, all being well. Yeah, this was the box I chose. Italian paratroops. That might give you some idea of where I might be headed for a next army. So we're going to have to see what we do with this. Next games coming up, will be this week, and that will be a practice game for the British Historical Game Society, using some of the armies that we're going to be taking. It'll be against Colin. I now have my dining room back. My daughter's moved into her flat, so I should be able to get a few games at home, so hopefully get a few more new opponents up and running and on video. I'd like to say thank you to my opponents. Firstly, Paul Walker, then Jamie Higgins, and in the last game, Mike Cullard, for the fun games. So thank you very much. Hope to see you and perhaps play you again in other tournaments coming up. I know I certainly am with Paul when we move into roll call and I get some revenge. Well, hopefully I get revenge for this year's one. Yeah, so please like if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your friends if you think they might like this or be interested in it. All shares and likes and subscriptions are greatly appreciated. Please leave any comments that you have, and thank you very much for watching. Until the next video from the Eccentric Man, take care.